Slinging seeds, sliding on into home, throwing heat, buddy, we're going, gone. If you gotta go down, you gotta go down, swinging, slinging seeds. It's America's favorite pastime. Come on, let's have a good time, slinging seeds. Yeah, we're just slinging seeds.
Hey everyone, welcome to another week of Slinging Seeds. I'm your host, Kyle Evans. This is my co-host, Doug Adams, and our special guest today is Frankie Russo. Doug, could you go ahead and give our audience a little background on Frankie?
Yeah, so I've known Frankie for over a decade now. He played at Ross High School, went to Marietta, played there, coached the Pelicans, Flames, a couple stops in between that. And now he's been our director of player development since 2021 with P413. Thanks for coming on, Frankie.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we greatly appreciate it. So, what do you want to get into first?
You played at a very, very competitive program at Marietta, right? Probably the best Division III program in the country. There for a long time, 6, 7 national championships. However, there's a lot of them. Tell us a little bit about went into that because you were pretty heavily recruited coming out of high school. Tell us a little bit about why you chose Marietta and your experience there.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I was heavily recruited. It was different 25 years ago. I kind of had an idea where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do until I went to Marietta. When I got there and, they're playing under the lights in a midseason tournament. There's the news reporters are there. DeSalvo's on the mound throwing 93. My dad says, "Can you hit that?" I said, "I don't think so." Just the competition there was different. And then, after the game, the coaches talked to me and say, "Hey, if you come here, you have a chance to play 4 years, chance to win a national championship." And so, playing in a good high school program at Ross and playing for teams like Midland, winning and competition was always, at the top. So it just kind of seemed like a natural fit for me. An undersized guy, didn't throw it real hard, didn't hit it real hard, didn't run real fast, but I could pick it. And I just loved the idea of the structure there. And so then when I got there, it was like, yeah, it was a really good fit just because you had to play the game a certain way. Everything was very structured, very organized. And so it really was a really good internship for me as a coach, just understanding how to put together a program and run an off season and just pay attention to all the little things. So, at Marietta, they teach you basically how to make every routine play, not to give extra bases. And that's how they win. So that's why I chose there.
So, Frank, when you and I have conversations about Marietta, it's often that you bring up the coaching staff.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about the relationships that you built with the coaching staff there through your time playing?
Yeah, so when I went there, again, one of the main reasons I chose Marietta was Don Shalley. 40 seasons at Marietta, no losing seasons, 3 national championships. He was coach of the century. Just a totally different way of looking at the game. Very innovative. He cared a lot about his players. It's a very family-friendly program. And then Coach Brewer was my hitting coach and then became the head coach my junior year. And over the years, we've just kind of maintained a really good working relationship. I know what he's looking for in a player. So I think there's probably been 4 or 5 kids over the last 15 years that I've kind of helped been a part of the process with Marietta recruiting them. We work together really well. We've gone out there the last 2 falls with our teams. For me, it's important for our players to see what it looks like there, and not just there, but Baldwin Wallace and other schools we've been to, so they can see what it looks like on campus. West Virginia, we've done that a few times. So he's been pretty accommodating with allowing us to bring teams out there and run events out there. So it's been a nice working relationship.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about that. So, I mean, obviously, for those that don't know, the director of player development with P413, you basically run the off-season program that all of our athletes go through. And obviously our program, we do much different than pretty much everyone else in the area, right? With how we train our guys being here 4, 5, 6 days a week. Tell us a little bit about how you came with that model, and tell us a little bit about what that position and means to you going forward.
It means everything to me. The player development piece. That's my passion. That's my background. It's a long story, I guess, but when I got into coaching in 2006, 2007, I was just going to be another summer baseball coach and do it part time and work at the Cleveland Clinic. And then I got with Neil French. Neil played in the Yankees organization. He went to St. Ignatius High School where I was coaching part time. And he had this model, this vision for a summer organization that included this off-season piece that was, he really wanted to model it after like a professional organization. So, at a professional organization, you don't go to spring training and, the A team or the A ball team plays over here and the double A team's over here. It's not like that. It's all together. And even in high school, you don't really have like the JV team practices by themselves and varsity, they do something totally different. It's a program. Same thing in college. So we really wanted to create that kind of environment where all the players in our organization are training together with our best hitting coaches and, our best pitching coaches and our performance guy. And so we put together this program. He really put it together, and then I kind of ran it for him. But we had a defensive night, we had a hitting night, we had an organizational day, we had speed and performance and all that. And so we put it all together, and it ran really well. And then the summertime, we'd try to travel together and play in similar events, because we want all the players in our program to feel like they're a part of the program, and they're not, if they're on the 16U Evans team or 17U Reeser or whatever, they're not isolated by themselves. They're a part of a program. So when we installed it here, I really love the fact that we've got freshmen that have become formed these really good relationships with juniors, guys that have graduated and they come back in the wintertime. Like, those guys know the sophomores, they work together, they help each other, they care about each other. And we just get a lot of work done.
Yeah. So obviously, yeah. So we do a ton of work, and like you said, it's a program. It's not one team. So I've said a long time that we're not here to win summer baseball games. That's not our interest, right? Tell us a little bit about how you want to build the schedule, how we do that to try to help our athletes maximize their potential.
Yeah, I like that we really have a 12-month season. We don't have a summer season. We're not a summer team. It starts in the fall, and we try to build over the last couple of years. We've done a good job of trying to maximize our fall schedule so that we are giving kids an opportunity to, if you're an NAIA guy, if you're a JUCO guy, if you're a D2 guy, we'll go to different campuses and give kids an opportunity to play in front of those coaches, against really good competition. So it all starts out there. And then we'll go right into October, right? October, we start our player development program, which is, Sunday mornings, we'll come out here and go 6 a.m. to noon or whatever it is now. Hour and a half slots, positional workouts, hitting. And then you have hitting one night a week, and then you've got top velocity. So, and then now we've got Sam with performance, but it's all geared towards, maximizing everything you need to work on in the off season. What I've noticed is when we play a really challenging fall schedule, and again, our fall schedule is not built to, like you said, we're not trying to win tournaments.
Mhm.
We don't even really play tournaments. We'll play one or two.
Yeah.
But really, it's round robins. It's, we want to maximize competition. What happens is these kids, especially if they're new to the program, it's kind of a wake-up call. It's like, if we go 500 in the fall, that's pretty good.
Yep.
Right.
Because we're seeing, best of the best in the Midwest all the time, every game. And sometimes we'll see it multiple times. I feel like we play the Pittsburgh Spikes every weekend,
Mhm.
Yeah, every time I look up Game Changer, that's who you guys are playing.
Yeah. Release out of Cleveland and Beaver Valley and Wow Factor, something, I don't know, that, really good teams out there. And the West Virginia event is really good. People will say, well, why are you going to West Virginia and play games when, it's D1 and they're not even recruiting your guys? It's not about that. Number one, it's about the experience. You get out there and you see these monsters that are, throwing pens for West Virginia, and the kids, that opened some eyes for the kids. Like, wow, that's what it looks like to play in the Big 12. Obviously you get to play at that venue, but then you get the competition. The past couple of years, we've had some of the coaches from West Virginia sit with us in the dugout, and again, it's more about like the learning piece. We're learning, kids are learning. We had one kid last year that the coaches really liked. Maybe he wasn't at that level, but they knew guys that in the MAC that they could, help out. So it's just there's so many different benefits to doing it. But yeah, so the fall season really kind of opened some eyes for kids. Like, okay, I've got a lot of work to do, or this is what I need to work on, whatever. And then they really take the off season really seriously, and they really get after it. So we elevate their level of competition, and then it helps them to see why the off season is so important. We see big time strides throughout the off season. They go into their spring seasons with their high schools, they compete, and then they come with us in the summertime, and we throw it all right back at them. And we'll go and play. We try to play some really good events. Again, it's for us, it's not about what PG tournament can we go win, or what PBR tournament can we go win. It's about which is the best that fits our athletes, and our families too. We don't want to fly all over the country every weekend and run up the budget. We really try to find those events, and honestly, the last couple of years, one of the best events we found is up in Cleveland.
Yep.
The college coaches, we get tons of college coaches come out. The competition's incredible. The venues are really good, and we really get what we want out of it. And so then we work relentlessly to help our guys, have conversations with schools, or start getting recruited, and we try to find the best match for them. So it's really a 12-month process.
For sure. So let's go into that a little bit. So obviously recruiting is very different than what it's been. From an outside view, obviously you and I work really, really hard in this department. So you're pretty well informed of what's going on around us, and we know what's coming next and all those things. What advice would you give to the high school kid who is uncommitted? What advice would you give to him today as he's thinking big picture?
Just relax. That's what I think nowadays. Honestly, with the rule changes, I think there's less pressure, really, especially if you're a freshman or a sophomore. I wouldn't even worry about it right now. Again, maybe I'm biased because I have such a passion for player development. But if I'm a freshman or sophomore right now, I'm just worried about getting better. That's it. Juniors, seniors. Juniors like the year when recruiting really starts now. But I wouldn't stress about D1 right now. All the coaches that we talk to, all the D1 guys talk about they're not even looking right now. They get so many guys out of the portal now. I wouldn't even worry about that. And if I could go back and do it all over again, I'd really look at what do I want to do with my life? What do I want to major in? What school fits me best when it comes to my major, the community, those sorts of things, and then kind of look for those schools, and the baseball piece will sort itself out. Especially if you're in our program, I don't want to,
Yeah.
But if you're in our program, you don't have to do anything. We got it. You know what I mean? We've been doing this for a combined 50 years. We, and going to ABCA this past weekend in DC, all the schools we talk to and all the relationships that we have, if you can play, we'll take care of it. And like I said, there's really no rush nowadays. There's no, 5-10 years ago, if you're a D1 type guy, you're probably having conversations as a freshman. It's not happening anymore. It just doesn't happen. So I wouldn't even worry about it. I wouldn't rush. Just worry about the baseball piece and the education. Everything else will take care of itself.
You spoke a lot about education, and you preach about your education. Can you kind of tell us how your education in your prior life to now, or not prior life, but previously, before you became, director of player development, you worked in previous organizations, how that has helped you, operate the way you do now?
That's an incredible question. I've been waiting on that one. I feel like this might be my Trump weave here. This might take me some time to get there, but when I came into P413 4 years ago, one of the questions asked was my relationship with God, and I was sold. I've never been asked that when I went to interview or talk about a job, but it was something that's it's kind of been the direction for a long time. but I feel like God prepared me for this exact role. And I don't want to make it sound like, I'm this special guy, but like this role in particular, when it comes to general manager of the facility and instruction, coach, player development, it all has like, there's different things from my background that have made like kind of shaped me for this exact role. I don't know if there's anything else I'm good at, but like, this thing is what's, I think, kind of been guiding me. But I go back to, again, playing in a good competitive high school program, a good competitive summer program, a good competitive college program, and then just getting with the right guys, just getting fortunate to get with Brad Gaynor. We saw at DC.
Yep.
Brad Gaynor's the head coach at St. Ignatius, a great mentor as like a guy, like how to run a program, how to be a head coach of a program. And then getting with Neil, who played professional baseball and had a totally different outlook on things. And then my D3 background, and then getting into summer ball and understanding how to do this. And then honestly, when I graduated from Marietta, I moved to Cleveland and started working at the Cleveland Clinic Center for Autism. We used a therapy called applied behavior analysis. So applied behavior analysis is a very like rigid behavioral program where there's no room for like opinion. There's no room for your own personal feelings on things. You do the program, and it teaches kids new skills, and it tries to eliminate certain behaviors. So if you follow the program and you do what you're supposed to do, and you're very rigid and structured and organized, you'll get results. So that was 4 or 5 years of my life, and so that really, to this day, a lot of the way I think comes from that, writing task analyses and having programs and being very structured and organized about your direction. And so I did that while I was coaching part-time, and then shifting over into mental health, not strictly autism, but mental health and working with kids and adults, while also doing baseball. And then I got into trauma-informed care. So around 2015, 2016, started working less and less with the mental health side and more with the trauma. So foster kids and people that have kind of had some troubles, mainly kids and families. So I got that piece. And then, just working in facilities and I worked with Prospect Select out of Florida, running tournaments. So I got that piece. So I feel like there was a ton of things that came together to put me in this position, with the, working with kids, and just kind of putting together programs. So that's kind of how I got here.
Yeah. I mean, one of the biggest people person we know, right?
I'm a people person.
People person.
Most of the time.
Most of
Most of the time. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I do have that side of me though, again, like from working with like, in the behavioral field, I do have that side of me where I can be kind of tough.
Right.
I've tried over the last year or so to kind of limit that a little bit. I'm not the type of guy that I don't want to go out and yell and scream and I want kids to play free and loose, but I also want them to understand like, we're here for a reason, and we're trying to get better.
Yeah, I definitely see you emphasize what things are important, and I've also seen the guys rally around you in times of need.
Yeah.
So it's definitely shown how effective it could be in your career and with us. Go ahead and I guess tell us a little bit about the relationship that you have here with Doug. And Doug, if you would after he's finished, go ahead and do it in return.
Relationship with Doug, I don't know. It's great. I don't know. We've always known each other for a long time. First time I met him, I got paper cutted to death by bunts and hit runs and steals, and I'm showing up for a fall game and just get absolutely waxed. That was my introduction. But yeah, we've known each other for a long time. He was one of the first guys I reached out to a couple years ago. And then, when I was working with Prospect Select, I enjoyed it. It was just something different that I didn't really want to do. I didn't want to be on the tournament side anymore. I knew that P413 was getting started and wanted to kind of get into that. So I called him up and we got to work, and we've been working 4 years together now.
Yeah, I mean, I would say obviously we coached against each other twice. He absolutely destroyed us about 10 years ago in a tournament, and then we got him back in a fall game, bunting him to death later. So, kind of even there. But Yeah, so I mean, he was working at Prospect Select. That's really when our relationship started. He came into the area at a different facility, and we didn't really have a rapport. He would reach out, and I was always respectful, and he was trying to get us to work out there when we were in the old facility. And I kept having to tell him no because I knew what we were working on here. So then he went to Prospect Select, and he reached out and the Palm Beach Classic, which is probably my favorite tournament in the country, but with where TPG is now with PBR, we just can't go. Um, because we can't let our guys miss out on TPG with all the college coaches. So he reached out and said, "Hey, I got a spot. Are you willing to bring your guys?" And that was the Evan Fry, Mason McElroy, Jack Duncan, Ben Zink team, the 22s. So we went down there, and he asked me, and this is, I think, really where our relationship changed. I can't speak for him, but in my head, this is where the relationship changed. He called me and he goes, "Hey, I got 2 spots. One is in, I forget how the number system works, but one is like tier 1 or tier 2, where we probably would have went down, went 4-0 and made bracket. The other one is I forget what he called it, tier 4 or something, and you're going to be with Knights Nation and the Miami Miracles and all these elite teams." And he's like, "Which pool do you want me to put you in?" I was like, "Well, I want to be in the great pool. Like, I'd rather." I don't want to say I don't care about winning because I do, but I would rather go 0-4 against elite talent, right, than win a game. And I told him that. And he's like, "That's the right answer." And I don't even know if he remembers that. And we kind of laughed about it, right? But I really think at that point he realized that I was here for the right reasons, that we both wanted the same thing. And I think our relationship grew from there. And then so I wouldn't say it was instantly after that, but we continued to talk. And then I could tell he wasn't happy at Prospect Select. So we had a position open up here. I reached out to him and I said, "Hey, it's an assistant GM position. It's an opportunity to get started. It's an opportunity. I can't tell you what you're going to make here. It's up to you and how hard you want to work." And we had a sit down. We interviewed him with me and a couple other guys just because the track record, he had moved around a little bit, and we ended up bringing him in, which was one of the best decisions we've ever made, right? So then our relationship has just grown from that. I think of him like a brother. Brothers fight, right? The one thing I really appreciate about Frankie is that we fight. Like, just be honest, we argue. Like, we get into it because we're both extremely passionate about every one of our players, but we never fight in public. And I don't want to say fight. I should say like have heated discussions because we're both so passionate. But behind the scenes, yeah, me and Frankie will go at it. He'll tell me what I think. I'll tell him what I think, and we will come to a unified front. And when we come out to our group, that is what we're doing. It doesn't matter who was right, who was wrong. It's irrelevant. It's ours, right? So that's one of the things I appreciate the most about our relationship is it's always going to be about what's best for them. There's no ego in this, from Frank or myself. It's always about what's best for the athletes. It's all about how do we help kids? What's the next thing we can add? What's the next thing we can do for them? And then that's just grown our relationship, and I love him like a brother.
Nice. I really, honestly, I kind of hoped that that would come out because what you guys do for us, for our program, is huge. I mean, and both of what you guys do for me too. I don't really get the chance to do this very often, but I look up to both of you as mentors. The amount of learning and the amount of, just, I know you guys are on my butt kind of a little bit, but I know I need it.
I mean, we've all made the same mistakes.
Yeah.
Jerry did it for me, Neil did it for him. We've all been there, right? You're that young coach who really, really wants to be there today, and you can't get there. You have to organically grow and learn and get better. One of the things this year you finally did, even though I've been on you for a couple of years, is we got to go to ABCA.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So you went to ABCA this year for the first time. Tell us a little bit about that experience and maybe one thing that stood out to you that you didn't realize.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. Unfortunately, we had to leave early because of the storm, and I got there a day late because of the Rose Bowl. But I wish we could have seen more. But what I was able to see was incredible. I think one of the things I don't know why I didn't expect this, but just the amount of like high level coaches and Joe Girardi was there, and Clint Hurdle was there, and LaTroy Hawkins I saw was there, and then Tim Corbin was there.
Front row in a suit.
Front row in a suit, listening to everybody. So I was really impressed with how many coaches and at a very, very high level, D1, D2, every level, we're all there learning.
Yeah.
Like, everybody puts their ego aside, and everybody's there to learn. And Tony Vitello talked about making sure like you take a nugget from everybody, whether you use it or not doesn't matter, but pay attention. You're gonna pick something up, and I learned a ton of stuff from Chris Hart, hitting coach at NC State, Billy
Billy
Berry,
Berry from
Tennessee
Wesleyan.
Wesleyan,
Yeah, that's great.
John Gordon.
John Gordon, the
Uh,
positivity guy.
yeah,
I liked that one. That was
yeah,
a
it
really
was good.
one.
It was good.
Steve Dinneman was really good too.
Coach Dinneman with the base running stuff. Ryan Terrell from Georgia Gwinnett. I was really impressed with him, and we've talked since then. That was a nice thing, you know. You connect, and then we're walking through the hotel, and 15, 20 coaches we talked to, and they're stopping us, asking us about our players and our program and things like that. You know, and then meeting new coaches.
And seeing familiar faces as well, because I
Yeah.
think you saw your friend from Rose.
Oh yeah, Rose Holman.
Yeah, Rose Holman.
Adam Rosen. So again, like a guy that was coaching at Marietta, that I had a chance to get to know a little bit, and then he moved on, and then Mike Mulvey as well moved on to a D2 in Virginia. So building new relationships. Well, not new relationships, but having new relationships at a new school. So it just adds to our network. So yeah, I was really impressed with. I think that's the big thing I took away was, no matter what level, how much success you have in this game, there's always more to learn. You know, guys that have won a Division I college baseball national championship are still coming back and learning from NAIA guys and JUCO guys, and Mike Roberts led the base running session. The guy that created the UCLA vault system. So yeah, I was really impressed. And then the trade show, there's like 500 booths at the trade show. Like that was cool. Like you could spend all weekend walking around that trade show and probably still not see everything.
Yeah.
Tons of learning there from, Joey Kuna. And I really wish I could have seen Wes Helms because I think he's incredible, but I don't think I'll ever miss another one,
Yeah.
and next year being in Columbus,
I don't think we have a chance to miss that one. Tell me a little bit about your experience, Doug, about how much you liked it.
Well, ABCA, I mean, ABCA is one of the best every year. I actually like the state clinic a lot too. The difference is at the state clinic, there's a lot of high school coaches that are there for a good time, right? And there's some coaches that want to learn.
Right.
At ABCA at the national convention, it's everybody who wants to learn, right? It's everybody who wants to learn. So, and I think it's changed over the last 4 or 5 years of me going. We didn't go in COVID. I think that was on like a webcam or something.
Okay.
But since I think it was Chicago was 21, it's changed, right? And the more we do this, the more success we have, the more we place athletes, the more interactive it becomes, right? I think when I first started going 5, 6 years ago, even then it was, yeah, I knew some coaches, but like it was kind of like us in our little pocket. Now everybody's stopping us, right? We're talking to a bunch of coaches, which is awesome. You get to see a bunch of guys you have relationships with. And I think a lot of that has to do with what we've done here. Well, not really what we've done, but what the athletes have done, right? I think college coaches take us seriously because the athletes that they've gotten on campus do it the right way.
Right.
So now they want more of our athletes. You know what I mean? Because Frankie does such a good job. Juan does such a good job, right? All our guys do such a good job at developing them, and so. But I think when you go to ABCA, you see how important growth is in this game, right? If you're not getting better, you're getting worse. And like as he said, you got Tim Corbin, right, sitting in the middle of the front row in a suit, taking notes with every speaker. Well, I mean, I think it's fair to say, in my opinion, I think Corbin's the best coach in the country, right? And
he's like our Nick Saban.
And he learned, and he's wanting to learn and get better. You see Jeremy Schedinger there from Georgia Gwinnett.
Right.
He's sitting in speeches, right? Steve Dinneman. It doesn't matter who you are, right? All the best coaches in the country are there, and they want to learn, and they're trying to take one nugget. The other thing is in the network piece, it makes it so easy to grow a relationship with these coaches because they're sharing their contact info. I've reached out to 2 coaches and asked for their presentation, and both of them have already sent it to me. So I can go back and study it again a little slower rather than it just flipping through the screen. You know what I mean? So, but just amazing stuff. As he said, Hart at NC State, the hitting coach was phenomenal. His approach stuff I really liked. It was a little simple and what he was discussing, but the execution was outstanding, right? And that's one of the things. Like, you're not going to learn, you're not going to reinvent how you hit because you go to the ABCA. What you're going to do is you're going to learn all the movements that are important to you. You're going to learn another way to teach them,
Yeah.
and maybe that other way to teach it reaches a kid you haven't been able to reach yet. Right. So it's more about the execution and all that. So I'll never miss one as
Yeah.
long as I can physically make it. I wish it wasn't in Columbus next year because I like to get away for 4 or 5 days. But so instead we'll drive up to Columbus, but it'll still be awesome. They do a great job putting it on. And you kind of, and like he said, the trade show is outstanding. So like on the Thursday, we do it every year, right?
Yeah.
On Thursday, we walk the trade show because there's no speakers really other than the expo theater. So we'll walk every row and you see everybody, you see a bunch of new faces, you see guys they have great deals on merch and stuff and like equipment that you want, and you see the next training tool that's coming before it's basically released to the public. And it's amazing. Like, there's so much better. You get so much better there. If you go to ABCA and you don't get better, you weren't trying to.
I 100% wholeheartedly agree with that. And I think and this is just me trying to maybe give advice to new coaches because I mean, I wouldn't say I'm a new coach, but I'm still new enough.
Yep.
It's the best thing to get you in the right mindset, especially before season, which we're about to hit season soon for high school.
Mm-hmm.
It's the best thing to get you in the right mindset. Because before I went to ABCA, I just spent most of my time in the building. And I learned a lot from you guys, but as soon as I went there and I saw how many coaches are hungry, how many guys are listening to one guy on a stage, it really sets you in a mind of wanting, to just succeed.
Cool. So let's take that from a bat. So you go to ABCA, you learn a few things. Now, as an advice to a young coach, how do you bring that to what you're doing now with your players? Not overwhelm them with all this new information, right? So how do you start to use this stuff with your groups?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can kind of weave it into what you're already doing. So I know that in lessons, especially like hitting lessons, for me, like it's a process. In the wintertime, that's when we kind of really focus a lot on mechanics because, you're not playing a game for months. So you can talk more about mechanics. As we get closer to season, I think you can start implementing more approach like stuff. So the stuff we learned from Chris Hart, we can start implementing some of that stuff into our lessons, like weaving it in with the right guys. I'm not going to bring in, sit soft, fastball spit with a 7-year-old.
Right.
But like some of the juniors and seniors we have, start working that into their process. The infield stuff, I didn't really get a chance to see all the infield stuff I wanted to, but I did see some practice tip stuff from the coach of Tennessee Wesleyan. And basically what I saw there was not, like you said, it wasn't like reinventing the wheel. It was take what we're already kind of doing, maybe just add some variations to it. So when we're out doing our chaos drill or our team defense stuff, I like when we're doing our Sunday defensive development stuff, we do individuals and then we move into team defense, things like that. There's more things I can add to the team defense. So it's like I'm not throwing a whole new practice plan at them. I'm just adding one or two little things that's going to maybe like mix it up a little bit, maybe work on some new things. I do a lot of like redirection stuff. That guy talked a lot about redirection. So maybe we add a little bit more than on top of what we're already doing. So like you said, we're not reinventing our practices, but we're adding to a new way to teach some things, maybe some of the, I was going to say tech, but mindset stuff. And honestly, a lot of the base running stuff that we learned. So Coach Terrell from Georgia Gwinnett sent me that presentation. Again, like there's some documents or some graphics that he's got in that presentation that makes some of the things that we're kind of already doing, just makes it a little easier to teach. First to third reads, thought that was pretty incredible. Just their approach to their offense. So yeah, just kind of adding to what we're already doing, supplementing what we're already doing.
Okay, so as we get through this off season and we're starting to get the evals and we're starting to do all these things and the board's filling up, right, because of the winter time, as we head into the spring and summer. So how does your mindset change as we get into the summer season? And then, what's your plan of attack when we get to say May, June?
Well, so our guys, our high school guys, they're playing their spring season. So, trying to get out and see them and see, where they're being successful, maybe where they're struggling, whatever. and being able to attack that, and then trying to see exactly where, for our older guys, trying to see, kind of where they're at in terms of um, trying to think ahead about recruiting maybe a little bit, and what college coaches to reach out to. We know what our summer schedule is. We know where we're going to be. We know the guys that, need to be placed. And so kind of trying to think of how to set them up for success. Um, and then really trying to understand, like with my younger team, with the freshman guys, understanding where they're at, and trying to set like a rotation or lineups, or think about things like that for when we go and play these events, and how we can maximize our summer season, I guess, really.
So yeah, obviously we get into the season. So a little bit 25 class, right? So obviously we're coming up to it. We still have a few more that we have some tricklers who have to get placed. 24 in the class have committed to play college baseball. Most of those guys have already signed. What does that group mean to you, the 25 class? Because I think that's really the first group you've seen from freshman to senior since you've been here.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that group mean to you? And then how does it feel? How does it feel to have 24 guys in the same class placed?
Yeah, that's the goal. I mean, that's when we, I think, again, I don't want to, I think what we really care about is placing kids, getting kids to the next level. Colton likes to make fun of me. It's all about development and getting kids placed.
I love that video.
But I mean, that's the truth. If we don't get a kid to the next level, we feel like that's a failure, and on our part. So that's the goal. And especially that group, this senior class group, they're a special group. I've had a chance to know a lot of them for, probably since middle school. And then, when I came over, they were 15 new freshmen, right?
15, yep.
Yeah. So, and they've all been here. They stay here. They train with us. They buy into everything that we do. We've asked that group to do a lot. I know those families have really done a lot. And they've done a lot for me too. They've been great for me. But we've asked them to do a lot, from the summer travel to the fall travel. This last fall was a lot, and they have done it all. They bought in, and I think they're seeing the results. So yeah, that's a special group, and like I said, our aim is not to hang national championship banners in here. Our aim is to get every kid signed, and so the more we can do, the better. And we really don't care if they come from another program because they're trying to get recruited. Great, love to help them. Honestly, even the kids that don't play for us, they come in here and train here. If they ask us for help, we're still going to help them, which happens a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, because we're not in the business to try to I mean, if you're in a business to just try to win games, it looks a lot different from what we look like, I think.
it's different. Yep.
Yeah. And I've been in a different room.
Yeah, I
in
have
a different state.
I have no interest in calling 1-800-W and getting some 90-mile-an-hour arm from Illinois to play with us at a tournament. Like, I don't know what that accomplishes.
Right.
I just don't think it's important. I don't really care enough. As funny as that sounds, I'm not going to call 1-800-W 20 times and get the right 20 kids and then pay for the season. And hey, we won a national championship. Great. What'd you actually do?
Right.
Um,
This doesn't feel like coaching in my
yeah.
opinion.
So I like taking the 13, 14-year-old and trying to keep them in the program for 5 or 6 years and develop them. And, you get to that, then they get to that next level, and I think we have opposite ends of the spectrum around here, which I actually think is something I appreciate and enjoy, right? You got, I mean, I don't want to say anybody out, but you got the Ben Zinks who's playing at Wright State. You got the Evan Fries who's at Northern Kentucky. You got Jack Duncan who's at Dayton. You got Alec Halter who's going to Wright State. And then you got a guy who is probably too small, too slow, and not athletic enough to do this, and refuses to take no for an answer, and he signs too. You know what I mean? So I always joke with you that there's certain kids that my dead grandma could get placed. It's not very hard. I think I enjoy more the guy that has to work for it, the guy that we have to pick up the phone and we have to use our relationships to get him in front of them. The guy that you have to see play 10 times, right? You watch him play once and you're like, oh, and then he just does the same thing every day. Like those things are fun. Those are relationships I really enjoy. So I like the spectrum that we have. Now, when we get on the field, do we want to win? Yes, we do. We're going to compete our tails off. And like I said, if I'm playing you in checkers, I'm going to beat you. I'm going to beat you. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that's just life. But I just appreciate what we do here and
Mhm.
why we do it. And I like that it's a 12-month program, as Frank said. I'm not interested in a 9 week program where you just bring in all the best talent and go win games. I don't know how that does anything
I
for you.
think that's kind of sometimes for new players, especially. I think that can be kind of they hear it when we tell them that, but then when we start, it's kind of like, oh man, they're serious. Like, this is serious.
I've
And
seen the faces on some of them when they see college coaches too. Like when you guys are out there outside the dugout, 10, 20 feet away, and you're talking to like 3 or 4 college coaches at the RBI place.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It kind of helps them too. I have a question. Oh,
Go
wait,
ahead.
were you?
I was just saying,
My apologies.
I think it can ruffle some feathers sometimes, and we're not the right fit for everybody.
For sure.
That's what we've learned over the years too. We're not the right fit. But again, like I don't have a problem with, I think recreational baseball is great. I think it serves a purpose. I think there's a place for it. And this is going to lead into another topic here soon, I think. But and I think summer ball is great. There's a place for it. There's a kid for it. There's coaches for it. We're not either one of those. And that's what I hate when people say like, you're a summer team or this or that. We're not. That's not what this is. Yeah, if you want to be a part of our program, understand it's not showing up and playing on the weekends. It's not, just showing up and playing in a tournament. That's not us. We are a development program. We are a development organization. It's not right for everybody. Some people think we take it too far. Whatever. This is who we are. And so if you care about, we'll go and play in the summertime. We'll play national teams, and we'll compete all the way up until Sunday because we're not flying pitchers in on Sunday. We don't carry 10 POs. And again, there's a place for that too. There's kids that play on the national level and, and they need that kind of national level competition all the time. I get that. We're going to compete with you for 3 or 4 days until we run out of pitching, but we're not going to burn up a kid on Sunday, bring him back from Thursday and burn him up just to win a tournament. You know what I mean? So,
Not worth it.
so that's who we are. And, sometimes it works. Usually it works. But
Okay, so I guess one thing that we talk a lot about and behind the scenes is the state of summer baseball, right? It is so different than it was when you and I got into this.
yeah,
So let's talk a little bit about your current thoughts on the state of summer baseball.
all right. Well, so I despise the word travel ball. You'll never hear me refer to us or anything as travel ball. All right. And I want to say before I get started with this that I think I've said this to you a lot. I never, I never condemn or blame a parent for anything really. I don't assume that our parents, our families know this industry like we do. They can't. When I go see my tax guy, I don't know taxes. I don't know, CPA stuff. That guy's gone to school for it. He's, practiced that occupation for a decade or more or whatever. I don't know that field. Same thing with us. I played it as a kid. I played in high school, college. I've been coaching for 20 years almost. I've played against, I've played with, I've coached guys that have played in the big leagues. Like I've learned a lot about this. I've majored in this, I've done this occupation for a long time. So I should understand this field. So we have one kid that I'm thinking of right now that's a junior, 10 years ago, probably a D1 player.
Yeah, already.
And
Yep.
probably still will be someday.
Mhm.
Just may not happen for him as often as early as he hopes, as we hope. Mom's never raised another kid that played baseball. She didn't play sports. How could she possibly understand this industry? And that's our job to set those expectations for parents, So I just want to say that before I start saying how much I hate travel baseball. I hate calling it that. I hate referencing that. We are not a travel team, right? The reason I don't like it is because I feel like when you say travel, you're prioritizing all the wrong things. You know what I mean? So 40 years ago, 50 years ago, whenever this thing of ours started, there was a select group of players that were a little high, just had a little more skill, and just took things a little bit more serious. Um, and so they had to create teams of select level players, and they had to travel to find other teams that they can compete against.
Right.
Just like the national thing is now.
Mhm.
You know, you got guys that are D1 and pro prospects. They have to play against other D1 and pro prospects, or else they're not getting any better. Like for us to put together our teams and go play in a league and beat up on people by 20 or 30 runs, that's not doing anybody any good, right? So we have to create select level teams and then go find other teams, which means we have to travel a little bit. Okay. But when you're playing in a league, right, in your city, and there's divisions, and maybe you travel to Ripken one time a year for fun, for a vacation, that's not the same thing. So that's what drives me nuts about it, is that like this is not supposed to be about taking vacations in the summertime, right? I was playing in 1996 in Atlanta against East Cobb. The only reason I remember 96 is because the Olympics were there. We didn't go see the Olympics. You know, we didn't go like to the beach. We didn't go have fun. We played East Cobb every day and got smoked. But it was a development thing, you know. And then when we went to Florida, like our parents didn't even come. They got us buses and they shipped us down there to play baseball, you know. And that's just the thing that unnerves me nowadays about it is I I understand, like, you know, families want to enjoy their time when they go, that's fine. But that's not the point of it. You know, the vacation piece is not the point of it. I don't mind that that's part of it. It's fine. But don't prioritize that piece. Like, don't talk to me about uniforms. Like, that drives me nuts, right? What really drives me nuts is we're going to spend all this money on uniforms and bats and blah, 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 blah. But we don't want to pay for lessons, right? We don't want to show up to development days and get better. That's what I wish could change about our industry, is that I feel like a lot of times we don't focus on the development and getting better. We focus on, you know, going to Florida or whatever. Honestly, like we've kind of scaled back on that a little bit because the best events that we can find are Indianapolis, Cleveland. I don't remember where else we're doing, but
West Palm.
well,
That one,
Florida.
that's one big one. But
But yeah, but again, West Palm. Why do we go to West Palm? We don't go to West Palm for the beach. We don't go for the sunny weather.
no, we don't.
Honestly, in the summertime, that's the last place you want to be because it's 130 degrees, right? But we go down there because you're playing at the Astros complex, the Nationals complex. There's college coaches there. There's pro coaches there. There's Dominican teams there. There's Miami, Florida teams there. You're going to get a taste of real baseball, and you're playing with wood, you know? So that's why we go down there. And we go to Cleveland because great college exposure, really good teams. You know,
It's invite only.
and it's invite only. Yeah.
Real invite only. Not this BS invite only where if you pay enough, you can be invited, but like real invite only.
So yeah, I keep going and on about travel ball. I just think that, you know, like I said, 40 years ago, we never even said, I never heard the term travel ball until like 2010 or something when I was living in Cleveland. And a coworker said that her kid played travel ball at the local park on weekends. When you travel from home 20 minutes to the park, that's travel. Like that's not what it is. And like I said, I just don't like the idea that travel has been prioritized over everything else that's important. You know, select baseball is what we called it when I was growing up because there was 6 teams in the city of Cincinnati that were select. Now we might play a Wednesday game against Storm Club, you know, just to get some reps. But then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we have to go out of town because we're not going to find 4 or 5 other teams to play, you know, unless we're going to, you know, we don't want to spend our weekends beating people up by 20. That's not doing anybody any favors. But over the years, it's like everything else. It's kind of gotten like, well, my kid wasn't good enough. I got cut from a team too. Like, I'm not saying like I'm incredible. I got cut too. Too bad. Go back to the team I was on. So, you know,
I mean, even in my sense, and I'm not trying to add myself either, but I have no impressive summer career, whatever you may. I subbed for every team I played for. I subbed for. I didn't really make teams, if I'm being honest. So I get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's definitely, it's true. It's real stuff.
yeah, like I said, what we're doing at our level, I just wish, and I think with our program, our families do prioritize development. I And again, I think there's a place for recreational baseball. I think it's awesome. I think it's great. You know, not every kid is trying to play baseball at 8 years old because he wants to play in college. You know, not every kid at 16 is playing baseball because he wants to play in college. There's a place for that. That's great. It needs to be there. But let's not call it what it, let's not, like that 16-year-old kid shouldn't have that pressure that, you know, he needs to spend all this money for travel and for uniforms and all these things when he's just trying to have fun. You know what I mean? That's what we're trying to do on this side is we're trying to be serious about it. We love being serious about it. We love the competition. We love the development, but we have to travel because we have to go outside of our network so that we get really good competition. I'm not going to call it travel ball. It's select baseball.
Yeah, no, it makes all sense in the world, and obviously, you know, I mean, we could go on this rant
We could.
for 2 hours.
Yeah, but
right?
I don't need
So-
you guys getting me in trouble for dropping a no Vaseline mix tab. I can't do it.
Yeah, so I mean, I agree with most of what you're saying. I've always, so for me, what we do with P413 baseball, I care a lot about September to February 23rd.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is I know that's 6 months, and I understand we don't, I mean, we do in the fall, but we don't play baseball games most of those times, right? But that's when the guys grow, right? That's when you see Joey Frisk go from 80, 81 this fall to hitting 88 flat this week.
Yeah.
And he was 91 on a step and throw last night. And he's probably going to be 88, 89 off the mound when he gets to 100%. I actually don't believe that. I have to say that so Joey will try to prove me wrong. So I'm not going to tell him he's going to hit 90. You know, and him is a perfect example. You know, you see the differences in guys like Drake Sauber working with Sam Faulkner.
Yeah.
Right. So one of the things, Drake is a phenomenal athlete, right? Big, strong kid, great to be around. I love the kid to death. But he wasn't the most coordinated good athlete. I know that sounds weird, but since he started working with Sam, he's starting to understand his body better, which is starting to translate to his swing with the work that him and Frankie have done. I saw him last night, and it was as good as I've seen him look, swinging the bat. So, I mean, I think all that stuff matters, and this is where they grow. The summer is just a byproduct. Like if we keep doing what we're doing during the wintertime, it'll be fine in the summer.
Yeah.
Right? It'll be fine. And if we go out, and this isn't a shot at anyone, but if we go out and we go 40-10 this summer, then Frank and I messed up. We underscheduled. Like that's how we look at it. If we go out and we win 5 out of 8 tournaments, that means you didn't play a good enough schedule. If you're winning every weekend, your coach is not doing you a favor. That's my honest opinion. If we make a 50-game summer schedule, at least Frank and I, when we sit down to make a 50-game summer schedule, our 100% goal is 25 and 25. Now, if we win a few more because we play a game the right way, sure. Great. Awesome. That's outstanding. Good for you guys. And then next year, we got to make it tougher then. We want to go 500. That's our goal. Now, we don't usually do that, right? Because we can't travel every weekend. We can't do that to the parents. But if you're winning 5, 6 tournaments out of an 8-week summer or 9-week summer, however long you play, your coach is doing you absolutely zero favors.
So I wholeheartedly agree. And you know, I watch it firsthand. You know, watching your guys' schedules, watching the teams you play, the trials and tribulations you go through in games and after games. It's a lot. And you know, come to the time where we're getting ready to do our scout day here soon. Watching all of that work is just fruition of your labor. So I wanted you guys to kind of, before we get into our last question, tell me a little bit about your anticipations for Scout Day, not what you're looking to see, but how exciting that is for you guys, and why you put the hard work you
Well,
put in.
Scout Day isn't about us or what we've done. It's about what the athlete has done. I think it's important to get PBR in our facility for multiple reasons. One, because the fact that they're willing to come to our facility and we don't have to drive to somewhere else to do our scout day, or we don't have to split with another organization, says we've done enough to earn that, right? Second, this is where our guys are going to be their best because this is where they're comfortable, right? So when you go to a different venue, I think it adds some nerves. You're not sure what you're getting yourself into. When you walk into P413, you're here every day.
Yeah.
You're comfortable. You can be the best version of yourself. And number three, one of the things I've always appreciated with PBR, and I think it comes with a sign of respect. We've never had a scout day where the state director wasn't in attendance. And that's not a shot at any program that does, right? Because guys like, I mean, Pete does a heck of a job, right? Pete's awesome. He's a phenomenal job. But last year we had Alex, Pete, and Kyle here, right? So I think that says a lot about who we are as a program and where we've come in the last 5, 6 years. I mean, I think it's awesome. And when we come in here and the music's bumping, right? We got the music on loud, and so we're trying to create energy, right? And you've got everything set up, and everybody's ready to go, and we're all cheering each other on. And I think it's very important that we have a third party source that comes in and verifies our numbers. So when you say, I mean, because if I tell a college coach this, like, they're going to believe me, but if I can prove it from a third party source, then they know it's verified. And I think that's crucial. So that's one of the reasons I like Scout Day a lot, other than the fact that from 14 to 18, right? I mean, I think it's an incredible opportunity. Now the 14-year-olds, I tell them to come because you're going to be absolutely terrible, right? You have to be here that day. You have to understand that, oh, I did not know this was what it was. So when you're ready at 16, 17, you've been through it a couple times. And now you can relax in that environment so you can be your best.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, it's like we work really hard with our athletes to build up to a certain level, and then you got to sit back and just kind of cross your fingers and hope it all turns out the way you'd hoped. It always does. I mean, it always does. The players always step up to the challenge. Um, and I'm really excited about this year because I feel, again, like with the way the recruiting has changed, in that junior class, do we have anybody committed yet?
No.
So, this is one of the first years where we're going into PBR with everybody uncommitted just because they can't commit right now. So a lot of guys that are Division I talent are going to be here, ready to show out. And all they have to do is have fun. It's, this is their home. This is their home environment. So they're comfortable. And they know us and they know that we know Kyle and everybody and we have good relationships. So they don't feel like they're coming into this big showcase environment that feels strange or whatever. They'll have conversations with all the PBR guys and they're used to it. Like Doug said, they've been doing it since 8th grade. So they're just going to come in like it's any other day and show out. So I'm excited for this one for sure.
Yeah. So the next thing I want to get into is a little bit, right? I want you to kind of define it for us. Okay. So if you're talking to a family out there that, they want their kid to play summer baseball, they don't really understand what it means. What is P413 baseball, and what advice would you give families about why they should come here?
Well, I think it's it honestly can be a lot of different things. It can be what you want it to be. It is what you make it. I think we've done a good job of providing everything. And we talked a little bit about Sam Faulkner, but man, what a game changer that guy is. Like every kid that I see, and not just our baseball athletes, but every kid that I see him work with, from like the young girls and the like the little guys that like really aren't very athletic at all. And then like a month later, it's like, oh my gosh, they look good. They look great. They're super athletic, and they enjoy it and they have fun. But anyway, he's been a big piece to help what we're trying to do. But again, with P413 baseball, our ultimate goal is a kid comes in and says he wants to play college baseball. We're going to give him everything he could possibly need to get there, and we're going to help all along the way. We also have teams where the kids don't really care to play college baseball, but they enjoy their team, they enjoy their coach, they enjoy their limited schedule. They're not traveling as much, but they do want to do some training. We offer that too. So that's the great thing about P413 is, yeah, at our level, me and you and Kyle and Juan, and Brian Corbett, a lot of us have this expectation of getting our guys to the highest possible level of college baseball, and beyond, hopefully. But we're also going to help out the kids that maybe don't have that aspiration, that dream. But when people come to me and say, tell me about P413 baseball, okay, our goal is maximize development. Um, so we're going to give you speed and performance. We're going to give you top velocity. We're going to give you strength training. We're going to give you defensive development, team development, hitting development. We have every piece of equipment in here you could imagine to get all of the metrics that are necessary. Um, and then our relationships with college coaches and pro coaches, and we're constantly learning, so we know what to provide our guys. And if they're looking for a relationship with the school, we can provide that. We try to maximize our fall schedule and our summer schedule so that we're, our top teams are playing top teams all over the country in the best events, and then our mid-level teams are playing the right events for them. And so we really kind of cater this. It's really, it can be catered to whatever you want it to be, you know, using a combined 200 years of experience between all the coaches that we have here, and players and former players. And that's what I think, the Canes did a really good job with, was how many guys come back and want to be a part of the program after they're done playing, so that's been pretty impressive too.
So, Frank, you and I, we work hand in hand together to both run this facility. Tell me your experience as being being the GM and kind of the day-to-day stuff, how that goes.
Yeah, so like I love that piece too. You said I was a people person earlier. I really love people. I love working with kids. I've done this for so long. I've always worked with kids in some capacity. Doug says I'm the biggest kid in the facility, and that's the case. Like I just, for whatever reason, like I just haven't grown up yet. Like I just love working with kids. And I like working with families. I especially like working with families when, like I said, like a lot of times it's new to them. They don't really, this isn't their field of expertise. And so they really lean on us for help. I like to be like that source. But again, with my background, I feel like working in mental health, working in hospitals, some really chaotic uh, backgrounds or backdrops. When I walk in here and there's an issue, just baseball. You know what I mean? So like, I feel like a lot of my background has kind of served me or prepared me for this role. But I really like it. I like to be a mentor to you and our other employees and our instructors. So Tyler Venners and I work really well together because I feel like he's a guy that he loves learning. He freaking valedictorian guy, so he's a
Teacher
big
too.
he loves education. He loves being a part of the process. So I love to be able to lean on my experiences to help others. I love working with, like, I don't care if it's an 8-year-old girl or a 17-year-old boy. I really don't care. I just love to see that progress. So any kind of hitting or infield lesson I can do, or set people up with the right instructors. I like to see, Doug and I talk about this all the time. We want everybody here to eat. Like, I don't care if I have more lessons than Xavier Turner or you or Tyler Venners or Doug. I don't care. I want everybody to have an opportunity. So whether it's a new softball instructor or whatever, I love seeing like the families come in here and feel comfortable with their instructors. We've had that happen a couple times where we hire somebody new and a family's like, I really like working with that person. This really makes me feel comfortable. That makes me feel good about P413, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of my favorite things about P413 a lot of times is how it feels in the building, where everybody says hi to everybody, all those things. And you talked about kind of Sam coming in and what he's accomplished with our athletes. Tell us a little bit about your relationship with Xavier, who's kind of our new guy on the scene, and he's doing really, really well.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your relationship with Xavier and what he's done, what he's added to the facility.
Yeah, I tried to recruit him in like 2012 or whatever. So when I was running the Pelicans, that was in Cleveland, and so he's from Sandusky, so an hour away. Tried really hard to get him to come play for the Pelicans. So I've known about Xavier for a long time. He played at Vanderbilt and drafted by the Rangers, I think. So I've known about him. I didn't have the relationship you had with him. Didn't have any relationship really until he came down here. And he and I have like really hit it off since he's gotten here. Just, he played at a pretty high level. He has an old school mentality. So something that you and I have kind of like worked through. I've never been a big numbers guy, not a big exit velocity guy. I understand the importance of it, and I've learned to appreciate it more. Not just exit velocity, but throwing velocity and everything. But Xavier has that old school mentality, and what I really love about Xavier is how good he is in a lesson, how good he is with instruction. He loves working with the kids. He doesn't really care for the higher level. He cares more about like that 14U level. He loves like working with kids, and I've seen him do incredible things with like instilling confidence in kids. Whereas I have that like old school like tough guy mentality where I don't, somebody, I can't really get too emotional with the kid. Xavier like just jumps in there and he's really good with it. And I love that he'll meet a kid where he's at, like in a lesson. Like he doesn't have like a plan necessarily, but the kid comes in and he kind of sees where he's at, and then he'll address that. You know what I mean? And he'll kind of work off of that. Um, and so we've talked a lot about development. We've talked a lot about infield, especially. Um, I love working with those guys that are professionals. Um, Professional athletes just can do things that people like me can't do, So I learned a lot of things about development and infield play and things like that because I couldn't do some of the things that Xavier can do. But what's nice is he can help me understand, how to play at like a little higher level or how to teach how to play at a little higher level. And I can fill in all the things that he doesn't understand why these kids can't do certain things because he could just do it, like when I'm working with Matthew Major, like Matthew can do things that, like when I'm playing catch with him, it hurts. And he's just lobbing the ball over to me, but he can throw the ball so hard, and he moves so quickly for his size that he can do things that I just can't do, right? But I can teach him I can fill in all the gaps that like he's gonna need mechanically. So that's where Xavier and I really kind of get along pretty well.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what's next for the facility.
What's next for the facility? Well, I mean, we're constantly growing. We're busting at the seams already with, not having, we've just got so much going on all the time.
And we're always barking at each other. Hey, I need this space. No, I need it. Like,
Yeah. So, I mean, adding new instructors. I think Sam's about to just go crazy with how busy he is already. The next 3 months or so, is when we really see a ton of like we are just slammed with lessons and people getting ready for the spring season. So I'm really excited about that.
okay. So recently we've taken, you talked about taking in new instructors. We brought on Elson Ollinger from Belmont. Tell us a little bit about her and how excited you are to have her here on our team.
I'm really excited. Again, having a Division I college softball player in the building is huge. I love that market. I think we've done a good job in the past of serving that market, but bringing her in here is really going to help us because I love working with the softball players because you see so much progress and they work so hard. They love the game. They eat up every bit of instruction, and so they're always asking for more. They're always craving like more. So bringing her in here and allowing her giving our players that opportunity to work with her is going to be huge for us. I think it's going to be huge for her. It's going to be huge for our athletes. Um, you know, we've been able to serve our athletes with top velocity, with Sam, infield and things like that. But having her here now is going to just kind of like take us to the next level with our athletes.
So I guess my last question, where we always end up, it's kind of a standard question we ask every guest. If you could, I mean, we love our game. We all love it, obviously. If you could change one thing about our game to make it better, what would that thing be?
So kind of going back to what I was talking about with like travel ball. I would like the player development piece to be more prioritized, and maybe not so outcome based. You know what I mean? So like you go to the tournaments, you got that guy on social media, travel ball guy, whatever. Can't stand that guy, but like I want to shift away from like all the pressure and all the like outcome based stuff that we put on players. You know, remove some of that, and maybe with the recruiting rules changes, like maybe some of that will happen where they can just go play and compete, and don't worry about the outcome, which I think is what we do pretty well. When we go and play Pittsburgh Spikes at Baldwin Wallace, It's not outcome based. It's at bat to at bat. We want to compete at bat to at bat. And that's what I love about the game. That's what I love. That's what this game really is at the next level, you know? So I want it to be more player focused, more player development focused, less pressure on like winning tournaments, less pressure on winning in general, and more focused on development. I think we do a really good job of that here, which is why I think we don't have the issues that I see a lot of other places have. Think less about like one thing I wanted to talk about too. I guess this kind of goes along with it too. I don't want to name other facilities, but we have good relationships with everybody. You know what I mean? Like we don't have a lot of animosity, and that's a big thing I think I would like to change. When we go and play out of town, or we go and play these events, we have good relationships with every other coach. You know what I mean? The Pittsburgh Spikes guys, the Beaver Valley guys, the release guys in Cleveland, all those teams in Cleveland. We have great relationships with them. The launch guys, talked to the launch guys over the summer. We have great relationships with them. There's no animosity. I feel like in our own city, there's like this belief that we're supposed to hate like the other programs or have this animosity. I don't. Like I have good relationships with all these guys because we care about the kids. I don't care about beating your team. I'm not going to call your players and try to steal your players. That's not what it's about for me. So I think that's another thing is the animosity in the industry where like we're supposed to hate each other. We don't. Like, you know, I know there's other facilities that whatever they don't like us for whatever reason, and I don't care. I mean,
that stuff never comes across my mind until it goes into my ear. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. You know, if we can serve your player, great. If you can serve our player, I know we have plenty of players here that go to home field. Fine, great. If I know Bailey does a phenomenal job. You know, I really like Bailey. You know, I like all those people down there. You know, I think we do a great job across the board. But if there's something that you want to, you know, if this other facility is 5 minutes away and you really like the guy, great, good. If you're getting better, awesome, love it. You know, so animosity and outcome-based stuff.
Awesome. Well, that's about all the time that we had today. Frankie, I just want to thank you for coming onto the show. It's always great to have you guys, have a good conversation with you guys. And every conversation with you, too, for me is always learning.
Yeah, we could probably go another couple hours. Too.
Yeah, probably. But if you guys want to see more stuff like this, go ahead and follow us on YouTube and Spotify and also Apple. And to never miss a notification, go ahead and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. All right, boys.
Thanks. Is that all right?
Yeah, it's good.
It's America's favorite pastime. Come on, let's have a good time. Slinging seeds. Yeah, we're just slinging seeds.